following is a conversation I had with a very good friend, Tomi Solanke, a very brilliant mind and an entrepreneur, CEO of Trove Finance in Nigeria. It's the first of its kind to allow Nigerians and individuals trade stock on the Nigerian Stock Exchange and the US Stock Exchange. Tomi is a very brilliant mind and who has started quite a number of companies and a very good friend. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. In this conversation, we talk about life, entrepreneurship, and what it means to be an entrepreneur, the challenges that he faces on a day-to-day, and a couple of stories that I think might be interesting. Enjoy. Channel. With us, we have the CEO of Trove. His name is Tomi Solanke. We have been friends for a very long time, and we've done a series of a couple of things together. In this video, I'm just going to be interviewing him about what Trove is, how it started, and the startup life in general. All right. So
yeah, sure.
So,
hi, what's up?
What's up? What's popping?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. Nice to be here.
It was difficult getting a hold of you.
Hustle don't sleep now.
Hustle don't sleep. It's all about the money.
Yeah, we stay on the grind now. We stay
on the grind, yeah?
Yeah, we stay focused, laser focused.
Okay.
Chasing our goals.
Chasing the money too.
Not just the money, but chasing impact, chasing our goals.
We want to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Money without the world being a better place. If the world is not a better place, and you have all the money, they come and point a gun to your head and take your car. You know, even if you think like you've achieved all the success. So, making the world a better place is also a very
primary goal.
It's a primary thing too.
You know, in this series, Silicon Valley, every startup. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah.
Every startup in Silicon Valley has this tagline, making the world a better place. Even if it's a taco truck, startup. There was one.
Same dude.
The Indian guy.
Yeah, the Indian guy.
Right,
no, I'm not picking it up. Don't worry. Yeah, sure.
All right, so how are you?
I'm doing great.
How's the startup life? How has it been?
It's a lot of heartbreak. It's heartbreak every day.
Heartbreak.
It's not contrary to what people think. It's just every day. You know, you're enjoying yourself. You know, you're breaking. I'm gonna switch off this phone. Sorry.
Please do.
Let me just pick and switch off. Yep.
So, how's the startup life? How's it been treating you?
It's hectic. You know, that's
hectic.
If one word were to define it, it's a lot of heartbreak. Contrary to what a lot of people think, the stories that make it to the surface are like stories of like your, Elon Musk's.
There's a kid from Bangladesh.
Like Mark Zuckerberg. A student, that suddenly became top 5 richest people in the world. Those kind of things. But people don't understand what really goes on behind the scenes, right? And so there's a lot of, you have to quell like trouble every single day. You have to deal with chaos. You have to manage a team. You have to make sure that you are competitive enough to stay relevant in your industry. So all of these things are by no stretch of anybody's imagination. Like a lot of people think of it as easy when you're seeing it on TV or you're hearing it on radio or you're reading a book. But living through these things day by day is like just, having to manage a lot of chaos, which sometimes can cause heart palpitations and a lot of stress, in its own self. But we push.
Okay.
That's key.
I spoke with Okbai, who is the CTO, a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys have realized this, but before the interview, it became obvious to me that you guys might have revolutionized how stocks have been traded in Nigeria. It's the first democratized. I like to use the word democratized because it sort of allows more people, regular people access as opposed to the high net worth individuals, the big people, the rich people. You guys sort of no, not sort of. You guys have created a space,
Yeah.
first of its kind,
Yeah.
where young people, regular people, the street people, someone on the street who sells stuff, the Aloja, the Baboloja, the Eleron,
Yeah.
can decide to trade stocks. Traditionally, you'd have to
Yeah.
go to a stockbroker, an asset manager of some sort. But
Yeah.
you guys have taken away all the middlemen, the steep requirements.
Yeah.
Was that ever your thought process when we were starting the company?
Behind doing that. Yeah, so I think fundamentally I've always, thought of opportunity
To disrupt.
as, opportunity has been something that should be accessible to anybody or accessible to everybody, right? There are some things that, unfortunately, the way you're born creates a lot of restriction around. So, for example, you're born into a rich family, by default, you can afford to go to like an Ivy League, and get a good education and all of that stuff. But, I feel like, financial opportunities should be, accessible to everybody. There should be no restrictions around like, okay, how do I build a business? And the tools available to you, irrespective of the level of the business or the scale of the business. I feel like building a business should be something that everybody can do. Same thing with financial opportunities. I feel like people should be able to have opportunities to, turn 1 kobo to 2 kobo, and just pretty much be financially free. I don't think there should be restrictions around that or like structures that prevent people from doing that. So at the core of like everything, that's what really drives a lot of stuff.
Was that the vision you saw? The moment that idea came to you?
Yeah.
It's like a Robin Hood for Africa, yeah?
Yeah.
The moment that idea came to you, in short, what problem were you trying to solve? You don't just go around and go like, oh, I want to create a Robin Hood. You're trying to solve a problem.
Yeah.
And Okwe and I had this discussion about it, and he said you guys were trying to trade stocks, which was an offshoot of trying to buy crypto. Then that just spiraled, into starting the company. What was that journey like? Who did you have to talk to? What was the process like? How hectic was it? Give us the juicy dates.
The juicy dates, right? So personally, it's like my starting this was a personal experience. Like it was born from like a personal experience. So like I've been playing around with like financial assets for like a bit, right? I like the idea of money, right? I think we all like the idea of money. And so like I experiment with like all these things. I used to trade derivatives at some point.
Really?
I used to trade forex at some point. I used to trade crypto at some point. And so for me, like it's been something that I've been playing around this space quite a bit. And then I realized that okay, you know what? There are all these amazing high growth companies, like the Teslas, the Facebooks, the Amazons, that people use here in Nigeria. And then you watch movies like The Wolf of Wall Street, and you're wondering that okay, there's a lot of frenzy. People are making money. People are having fun, the time of their lives. And you're asking yourself like,
does that go on in?
No,
that particular scene.
No. I don't know what you're talking about. But
where DiCaprio had to give a big speech.
I don't know what
has that ever happened in Trove?
No. We don't play that here. We're very responsible Christian founders. But pretty much what really drove it is I was looking for a way of like doing these things myself, right? I've experimented with all these asset types, but I actually wanted to why are there 2 billion or I think it's 1 billion plus users of Facebook in Africa, right? But then you hear Facebook is going public, you hear people are owning that company, and because you're a Nigerian, you're automatically blacklisted. And so my thing was just you hear one person turned $100 to $1 million and all these kind of funny stories. And in the process of me trying to find out, how to go about these things, I then realized that, okay, there were hundreds of people, directly linked to me that had a similar problem. And then when I dug deeper, checking on forums, checking on Quora, checking on Nairaland, you begin to see that okay, this is actually a massive problem that thousands of Nigerians actually face, and that's what pretty much prompted doing that. So it was birthed from like a personal problem, but at the same time, it was a personal problem that was a personal problem to thousands of people,
which then became a company.
Yeah.
Is that how you derive your idea, so to speak? Or I ask this because many founders or striving entrepreneurs don't know what idea to chase. Don't know how to discover an idea. You know, and sometimes it's born out of you just knowing or it just clicking in your head, right?
Yeah.
While sometimes it's you trying to solve a problem. In the case of Zuckerberg, wanted to meet girls, that led to Face Smash, which then led to Facebook. In the case of Bezos, it was him discovering that, okay, the internet is a big space and he wants to create some form of... So there are two entirely different journeys. One was trying to solve a problem, one just saw the opportunity and he then capitalized on it.
Yeah.
How was the process for you?
I think for me, is the biggest thing is like solving a problem, but there has to be a connect between you solving a problem and it being an opportunity, or there being an opportunity. Because if you're trying to solve a problem and there's no opportunity, then at the end of the day, it's just a hobby, right? It's not. You're not trying to, solve a problem at scale. I think a business essentially, a great business is solving a problem at scale, right? And so that's doing the same thing, not just for yourself, but for, hundreds of thousands of people, possibly millions of people, right? So for me, like I had to find that point of connect where, okay, you have this idea, but at the same time, outside of having this idea, it actually provides value to people, right? So it's a mix of both, but it starts from how can I, solve a problem for myself, but at the same time solve the problem for a whole lot more, people. That's the way I think about it.
Okay. So I'm going to try to go back to maybe when you were younger. How did the entrepreneur Tomi start? Like, what was your first?
That was my first foray.
Exactly. That's the word.
We've been hustling now. We've been hustling since now.
Everybody they hustle, but not everybody creates.
So like
striving business.
I've liked it from the jump.
Is there any particular story that?
Yeah, I liked it from the jump. My mom, for example, used to be like, "Dude, why do you buy all this like Robert Kiyosaki books, all this type of stuff?" So I had like stacks of them in my house, right? And then I was just like, that was like a 17-year-old boy, like on like some cash flow quadrant, this type of books. Also used to buy like some random magazines then that were like, I remember one, it used to be called Success Digest. It was one of these street magazines that they used to sell on the road for like $100. I had like a stack of about 200 issues of that mag. But pretty much it was just like how to start a poultry, how to start like some internet-based business, how to trade forex. Like it was like, I think it was like $50 then, 50 naira. But then I was always intrigued by those type of things. Secondary school, I used to, do a little bit of like arbitrage here and trading. I used to be like the go-to guy. So like, you need to like buy like a PlayStation something. I'm that guy. You need to buy like please don't quote me, like a pirated. But like I was that guy. You need to, I think then like a lot of like sneakers, Timberland boots, all those things were raining then. And I was that guy that was like going to give the plug and everything and make like tiny amounts of money from it. But like, I just used to enjoy the process of like, starting money, doing something, creating value of some sorts. That's not value on this scale, but, I've always liked the concept of like, transacting, and, I think money in general, but money doesn't drive me as a human being too. But
do you think having that experience from being a child is critical to having that entrepreneurial grit to just like keep?
Yeah. So,
because I've known you a long time and I know that you've started quite a number of companies.
Yeah.
Not everybody has the capacity to keep doing it and
stay focused
until you hit one goal, stay focused. And so, do you think it's a requirement?
Yeah, that, like I tell everybody, like I have conversations with like a lot of people trying to start stuff these days, and like my biggest thing is I say like, yo, one of the most important things as a founder, is consistency. And what I mean by consistency is like the best people you hear most times that they've been at one business for probably 5 years. It's interesting, people like fanfare, like, oh, somebody just sold his business, somebody just IPO'd and just bought a Bentley. Like, we all like those kind of stories, right? But people fail to realize that there was a process to that. And that journey sometimes takes you iterating on something, a million times, you failing on something a million times, or, just in general, maybe you just, starting a million things, right? So I say consistency is like the biggest thing, right? You just have to keep, just redefining yourself.
So your childhood and
it taught me that. So it was more like rugged. It wasn't like refined business. Like, I'm into tech now. Tech is more structured. It's more structured, to say the least. But then this were like, I'll call it hustling. Hustling in the traditional sense, right? When you are like going to a market to get something for somebody, or you're going to Balogun, you're going to CMS.
So are you saying any hustler can?
Not necessarily, but like, I think it instills the that element of grit, or some things like, okay, negotiating, for example. Some things like, okay, I won't stop until I find our best deal, for example. So it gives you some things on a very subconscious level, not necessarily as I believe like you're learning along the way. So like you don't get all these skill sets in one day. But I think like a lot of all this, preliminary type stuff preps you for like, much bigger stuff that, has like, lots of other complex layers to it.
Okay. Yeah. So I think there's, in the tech space, February is being referred to as Dark February. Because of the clampdown on crypto and how it affected a couple of fintechs. So you are a fintech. And the other things that CBN has done to sort of like, maybe not intentionally cripple fintechs that are trying to start in the space. What's your take on that? How has it affected you as a person and your business?
Yeah, so like definitely like with all of this regulation, especially with the way regulation happens in Nigeria, it's like an existential threat to like a lot of the companies that exist, because I don't know that regulators, I think they're trying, but like there's still like a lot to do in terms of like understanding the landscape, understanding the mind of a lot of the people that are trying to shape the future and stuff. So I think like a lot of stuff can be done with regards to like regulation and regulators and the way they synergize with like innovators here in Nigeria. But I also think there's a lot of opportunity there, right? So, this was just a very recent thing. We've had like, a couple of, issues that looked, or things that looked like issues, right?
Like what? Can you go into detail?
If I start to talk, we'll sleep here.
Please.
But like,
people want to hear your story and how.
Yeah.
So,
don't worry. We'll launch a book.
Perhaps you will. But one of the reasons why people like long form conversation and stuff like this is because they get to know the person as an individual, as opposed to the godlike figure that they have in their head. And they can relate on whatever level or whatever part of the person's experience that's
that they want to
them. They can know, okay, this person grew up poor, I grew up poor. If the person can do it, I can do it as well. Or the person had this, but so that's why I like to like dig as deep as I can. If whoever I'm talking to is willing to
share. So
their particular stories.
So for example, random story, like I remember last year, right? there was this whole, COVID uncertainty around the market. People were very skeptical. People were trying to hold and hide capital. But that turned out to be an opportunity in itself because we were able to spin that narrative and say, okay, you know what? Nobody knows the day of doom, right? And so because you don't know this thing, you want to be as capital efficient as possible. You want to make sure that your 1 naira, is yielding positive results in the long term. And pretty much craft a narrative around, how important it is to stash away money for the rainy day, right? So something that was problematic, a lot of businesses were shutting down that period. Mm-hmm. Something that was seemingly problematic, right? We took that same time zone and pretty much, looked at, the fears of human beings or the fears people had at that point in time, try to craft something that really allays their fear and allows them key into like future prospect. It comes from a place of goodwill, wanting to help people, which connects back to what I was saying earlier. But at the same time, you also need to be able to see opportunity in the midst of chaos. Similar to this same scenario here. So it's the whole regulatory thing around that whole last month was, to say the least, wasn't like the most pleasurable thing or the most exciting moment to go through. But we are starting to identify like lots of interesting things, opportunities that can creep out of that. Or perhaps, it can be a blessing in disguise in the sense that you start to think of business in a different way. So like, how can I structure my business in such a way that, it's not just too exposed, right? And that in itself is some benefits, irrespective of how we think of benefits. So there's always opportunity in all of these things. You just have to, it's hectic times, it's difficult.
How did you manage? How did you
You have to manage. You don't have any choice but to manage. So I think the thing is just, for me, I just stay focused on my mid-term to long-term visions or like vision or goals. And that's what really drives me as a human being. All these temporary bottlenecks are bound to exist. But, just stay focused on the goal.
I have a question.
That's the important thing. Yeah.
So take, for example, a new entrepreneur that just wants to start out. This might seem repetitive, but I'm going somewhere.
Yeah.
There are some goals or ideas or companies that they want to start that sort of require maybe massive capital or requires knowing somebody at the top who can link you up, maybe connect you to the right people to have a certain type of conversation. Right?
Yeah.
First of all, where do you get the courage from? Like, how do you, I'm going to do this thing regardless of, I'm sure the requirements or the blockades when you were trying to start Trove existed. But nonetheless, you're like, now we're going to find a way
to do this.
Yeah, where do you find that courage?
Yeah, so like you let your...
Or is it because you have been doing it for so long?
No. I think like at the core, for me, one thing is you have to do something that drives you crazy. And what I mean by drives you crazy is something that you believe in so strongly that irrespective of like all the roadblocks that happen, right? You're always willing to push through. Something that keeps you up at night. And that's where people say a lot. They say like, oh, follow your passion, follow like, your interest and all that type of stuff. But for me, it's easy to say, oh, I don't believe in X, but I think there's an opportunity there to make money. And you jump into it. Somewhere along the line, like you hit this roadblock and then, the idea doesn't seem that great again. Just because you don't connect to it personally, right? And so like for me, it's very important that I think one of the key things for me is like conviction. And like, it has to be something that you strongly believe in. Whether you connect to the opportunity that exists or whether you connect to the problem statement to you, something has to drive you at the end of the day. So I think once those things are there, like irrespective of whatever happens, you just, just keep pushing. It's just like when people say, oh, they say love is blind, for example, right? And the blind part of it is just, oh, you like somebody
So much.
to the point where you don't even see like the person's flaws, right? I'll, try to like create some linkage between that and business. Like you really like a business to the point where, all these challenges are super temporary because they're focused on something else.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a difficult skill. I would argue that that's a difficult skill to have.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, for someone who is a very creative person, like 1,000,001 ideas are coming to your head. And if you're a very smart person, as the ideas are coming in, you're discrediting them or finding flaws. I mean, that's a good thing to have, also being a skeptic about it. And at the same time, you're looking at the opportunities and say, oh, okay, this one seems a little bit more harder to start up. Okay, maybe I should try this one.
Yeah.
Then you figure out the issues and you're like, maybe I should try this one. And it's not like these problems don't like sit well with you or they are not actual problems that you have.
Yeah.
But because you just understand the landscape, you discourage yourself from just doing it. Or maybe not discouraging yourself, but just understanding that, okay, it's going to be very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Like, do you ever experience that? Because it's something I experience a lot.
Yeah, so like random things will come to you, but like back to what I said, like of those random things, you'd always stumble on like special ideas or things that
How do you know when an idea is
No, like
special?
what I mean by special, it's not special because the world validates it as being special. Like I just mean special, like you feel like, okay, you're connected to this idea. You feel like this is like the best thing I've ever come up with, right? Or like you feel like the idea is like the best, like, oh, this idea is so great, right? Whether, and for whatever reason, like, I don't discredit anybody's reasons behind chasing something. That's a personal thing. But you have to find out one thing. And once you find out one thing, pretty much chase that one thing. 20 ideas, 30 ideas, 50 ideas come to your mind. There's always one idea or 2 ideas or 3 ideas that you feel like, boom, if I could get this thing out there, like the world will know me as a legend. And like, and those things like plague you, like every time, like it's skipping and playing in your mind. And so I think those are the kind of ideas people should pursue. Ideas that they're very relentless about. There are other things, that determine whether or not you should chase, an idea or something. But I think fundamentally, it has to be something that keeps you up at night. And you will always find those things.
Do pessimists sway you?
I think of myself as somewhere between like being a pessimist and being a realist. I'm not so much of an optimist. And so I think, there's some element of truth to a lot of pessimism that happens in the world. It's just that you choose to focus on like the negative side. I would, navigate more towards, being a realist. And sometimes a realist might come off as being a pessimist too, because like if the data suggests, negativity, people are like, oh, you're not this, that. So I don't care. I really don't care for it. Whether you're a pessimist, whether you're an optimist, or whether I don't care for it. Like if the data, suggests that, odds of, succeeding here, I'm not even listening to you, right? And again, if I believe so strongly in something and the data, from my vantage point or from the way I see it, suggests that, okay, there's a good chance of succeeding in this kind of thing, then that's what I just focus on, right? I just focus on my midterm goals, my long-term goals, my path to it, and whether or not I'm laying like a good foundation towards that eventual outcome that I'm looking for. And, for me, that's good enough. All the other externals are great. People validating you or people not validating you, all those things will always exist. But even if people gas you up, like you're doing something and they say, oh, this is the best thing in this world, people always support you, especially people closest to you. But like you need to be able to discern, like that spirit of discernment, like, okay, you know what, this thing I'm doing is not really going anywhere, right? People might gas you up for whatever reason, but you need to, and that's the other side of pessimist, right? Being pessimistic, it's like overly optimistic, right? Or just supporting you just because they feel like, oh, I have some attachment to you, you're my sibling, you're my boyfriend, you're my husband, you're my, So for me, I like both sides. If you're a pessimist and you're saying something and the data suggests it and it is actually valid, I'm all for it. And if it's not, I just let my dreams lead me.
Your dreams lead you.
Yeah.
That's a big statement.
Yeah.
There are two. So I listen to a lot of podcasts. Yeah, there's one particular podcast, and there's a statement that stuck with me. All In podcast. So it's hosted by Jason Calacanis.
Yeah.
You probably know him.
Yeah, no.
Serial angel
Yeah,
investor.
I know Jason. Yeah.
Do you know the podcast?
No, but I know the guy.
Okay, so there's a particular episode where they were talking about startups in general,
Okay.
and they mentioned that what's the word? The opposite of pessimist. What are they?
Optimist.
Thank you. Just skipped.
Yeah.
Optimist start company. Pessimist keeps the company running.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the optimists see the vision. They're like, we got it, and the pessimists are like, oh, maybe we should temper down one or two things.
Yeah.
Which you sort of spoke to, and then there's one other one that you sort of alluded to as well. One other podcast that I listened to called Nav. The host of the podcast is called Naval.
Yeah, Naval Ravikant.
You know Rap
That's
Naval
probably-
too.
Yeah, that's the guy. Yeah.
Yeah, they are serial investors who just like invest in companies, and they're able to see the vision way long before anybody can. Right? Yeah. And he mentioned that. I think I've lost my train of thought. But we'll get back to it.
Yeah, sure. Sure, we're here. Yeah.
I've lost my train of thought. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
So, we've not really talked about challenges that you face.
Yeah.
Like as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
We've sort of like touched on it, the environment, which is CBN.
Yeah.
But are there any specific stories or incidents or situation where you saw that, okay, this is actually a big challenge, and how did you like scale through it? What was the challenge about? If it's something you can reveal, like how did you evolve? What lesson did you learn? And what was your approach generally to those challenges?
I think important thing is like, chaos can be a blessing and a curse at the same time. You just have to figure out that, okay, there's this problem that exists. I personally take a couple of steps back, right? So there's chaos happening. So first of all, because I'm like, I try to think of myself as like a realist. I'm like, okay, what can I do about this thing? There's one saying I really gravitate towards. I love so much is, it's only a fool that stays fixated on like things that he has no control over. Right, and so like I naturally tend to free up like when I'm stuck in situations that irrespective of how I feel about it, there's no choice I can do. Things like when you die, when you're giving birth to, those are like things that you have
literally no
control over, right? And so for me, I take two steps. I take a couple of steps back, right, and I try to assess. Right, so like with all the madness happening here, people will be doing things like out of emotion. And so like I take a couple of steps back and I like reassess, like, okay, do you know what? Is this something that I can do or I can correct or I could have some effect on? And if my answer is yes, the second question would be, what is the path to that? Right? So what do I need to do? Right? And then once I start to answer that question, I then know the next steps to take. And then, if it's something that I have no control over, I try to think through the entire thing and try to find a hack around it. So what's the best way of staying afloat? In the midst of all of this.
What do you mean by afloat?
Yeah, like so like if it's like a regulation, for example, that might tank your business. That's literally like so regulation can kill a business, for example. And so my question in that case,
so with Gokada.
Yeah. So my thing is just like, do I move to another city? Do I build a new product? Do I kill what we currently have and just reiterate in some interesting way? Or like, is it time to just say peace out altogether, right? But you for me, like, everything all comes from like taking a step back, right? A couple steps back, and then assessing the situation from a much clearer vantage. Staying stuck in the midst of all the chaos happening sometimes can make you react emotionally to a lot of all these things. And so for me, that's my go-to, which is just, dead yourself, like dead all the noise that's happening around you, and just step back and just be like, okay, you know what, I can do this, I can change this, and this is what I'm going to do, or I can't change this, and I think, this will be the next, progression, or this will be the next thing for me to do. So that's how I address it personally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Not necessarily. The crypto thing, for example, we just had to die it, like just dead it, like literally. So like.
Okay, this is for context. This is after CBN.
Yeah.
Blocked crypto, and then.
Yeah. So it wasn't like at our core we were not a crypto business. It was just something that a lot of people were asking for, and then listening to people, listening to customers, you then figure out what the next thing is for, or what the next add-on looks like. And so for me, it was just okay. You guys can't do this thing again. Do you want something temporary to affect your primary business model? And then we just had to act fast, without factoring in all the emotion that was happening around that, or saying, oh, what did the commercials look like? Oh, you're making quite a pretty penny off, this asset class. And you just have to just take steps back. And like, we just said, okay, you know what? This is what we had to do right now. We just have to shut it down. Was a bittersweet experience in the sense that it wasn't exciting to do for different reasons. But then, you live to fight again another day, right? That's a recent scenario, or a recent story that pretty much explains some of the things I spoke about earlier. Yeah. Okay.
I think you guys are probably the only company that trades Nigerian stock on a retail level. Is that correct?
No. A couple of people actually do. A couple of traditional brokers do that here.
On the retail end?
Yeah. But like it depends on what you define retail as. And when I say right, so retail does not mean you're doing it on that successful level where. And what I mean by successful level is you probably have, a lot of them have like a couple of customers, hundreds, but I think at scale, right, we're like probably like the first people that started doing that Nigerian thing at scale. And to the point where, everyday people could actually access these things. So we pretty much had to, think of the current process, and like, totally destroy that process and create like something that's more seamless, something that's more straightforward, something that just appeals to like the regular person, and that in itself drives some level of mass adoption towards something. But yeah, there are a couple of traditional broker dealers here in Nigeria that had apps that existed before. It's just that they didn't hit like that critical scale where the everyday person now starts to recognize the opportunity.
Oh, okay. So you guys are first to, I say you guys are more like we guys.
Democratize.
Yeah, so
using your word.
You democratized it.
Yeah.
I really love that word because it sort of brings the people into the conversation.
Yeah.
It's not elitism. It could be it's an elitist app, or it's a authoritarian app. Let me just permit me to use that word. Elitist being that it only appeals to certain class of people, HNIs, the rich, the Ivy League types, the university types, but this appeals to everyone.
Yeah.
And, but one of my concerns essentially is that, sometime in Nigeria, everybody was saying, "Oh, you need to invest in stocks." This is prior to it being democratized now.
Yeah.
You know, like before Trove stepped into the picture, having an app,
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of our parents lost money trading stock.
Yeah.
You know, does that worry you? Does that worry you that customers might come knocking at your door like, hey, where's our money? But it's really not your fault. It's just the fault of the space, the market. But does that worry you at all?
Yeah. So there's risk. You know, I think like risk is a very, you know, important part of life. Risk is something that happens regardless. Like you leave your house in the morning, you don't know whether you're going to get hit by a car.
Unless you're driving a car.
Yeah, even if you're driving a car, you might get hit by a lorry or a van or something, right? I've seen someone driving a car before. I've heard stories of someone driving a car, and then a lorry that was carrying like a truckload of stuff, like just somehow lost, I won't say lost control, like the thing just, you know, fell on the car. All these ones that have like very extended backs, and the thing fell on the car, and, you know, and that was the end. You know, and there are other very interesting stories. And so like you really don't have any control over a lot of things. Risk is a part of life. I think for us, the important thing was, you know, how can we help mitigate the risk? You know, there's no risk. Like risk and reward are like, they work in tandem. They're like, you know, you can't say risk without there being like,
that brings me to the
reward.
GameStop saga.
Yeah.
You people halted trading on your app, and people who bought couldn't sell, right?
Yeah.
And people wanted to buy to keep, you know, pushing the price of the assets, couldn't do that as well.
Yeah.
Why was the...
We don't control all these things now. Unfortunately, we're just like what's the word? I don't know the word to use.
a middleman?
We're somewhere there. There are people that, your guys are at the top, you know, that determine a lot of all these things.
And you guys don't have...
You know, personally, I really don't care. I really didn't care, you know, for people like, I think, you know, part of like the words we've been throwing around, like, which is democratizing, is like giving people equal access to opportunity. And I feel like, you know, a lot of this thing is supposed to be like, these are decisions that are supposed to be made by individuals. I'm not supposed to limit or restrict your decision making in any way. So personally, I had no interest, you know, towards like halting anything. But at the same time, I understand, you know, why I love these things. People's hands, you know, it's money and people get burnt, and the fingers get burnt a lot of times. And so whether it was noble or whether, you know, they're trying to, you know, there's some conspiracy, some people saying stories that there's some big hedge funds and some guys at the top are getting burnt and losing money. And, you know, because they're losing money, you know, they had to like quickly, you know, do some roundtable chats to ensure that things, you know, things stop, you know, real quick.
You know, they interviewed Vlad, the CEO of Robinhood, and he has kept saying, and one of, you know, it was even brought in front of Congress, and one thing that he does that annoys me a lot is every single time he's asked a question, he says, hello, Congressman, thank you for that question. I'm like, well, the question isn't that very good, but you don't have to thank the person. But in his statement, he has said that the NSCC something, one regulatory body, self-regulating body, require that them as a broker float some money for the trades that they were being made. And the call came in around 2-3 a.m. and the cost came to about $3 billion, but they couldn't afford that cost. And the alternative to reducing the $3 billion to what it was, which they paid was $700 million, was that they had to limit trade. So it was, according to him, it wasn't done from a place of animosity towards users or wanting to like kill users' dreams of buying a Ferrari, of going to the moon, you know, and having a private jet that flies off the moon. But you know, it's just one of those things, I guess. Many people don't know the space that they are in. But how would you, if you had to like, I'm going to ask you this question in two parts because
Okay.
I'm coming up with it as we go along. I don't have questions written down. If there was any startup that you felt like, I know you've done a couple of startups, some of which I know about, some of which I was part of. But if there was any startup that you could go back and say, I would like to revisit and recreate, and like maybe now you're worth, I don't know how much you're worth now, but say you're worth $3 billion in the future, or maybe you're worth $3 billion now.
I wish. I wish.
You know,
chilling somewhere.
Do you think it's which
pina
idea?
Coladas.
You go Malago now.
Yeah, I'll be sipping pina coladas right now.
You know.
Yeah. But we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah, I mean that's the. Anyway, that's side gist.
Yeah.
Do you think, is there any idea that you still have deep in your soul, art that you would want to throw money at, that perhaps start?
Yeah. So
is it something you'd like to share? Or you are one of those people that say, oh, no, I don't share idea.
No. So like, I think there has been a tad amount of like, passion behind or need behind like a lot of things I've done in times past, right? And then for me, it's just reevaluating like, okay, whether there's still an opportunity there. But, totally, I think, I can think back and say, oh, I used to do X, I used to do Y. Is there still an opportunity there? And probably, try to chase a bit.
Which one?
No. So that's why I said like, no, I said like a lot of them, like, for me to chase something means I believe in it to some extent, right? And so like I won't restrict it to one thing. I'll say there have been a couple of things I've been very, interested in. Perhaps the idea was too early, perhaps, resources were not there. And, I don't know that there's one, knock me on my head, then I'm seeing the stars type of idea, but all I know is just think back to like a couple of these things that I've done and say, okay, you know what? Is there any opportunity here still? And then that would now prompt, whether or not I'm moving forward with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a dream car?
I think that changes. Right now, if I were to say like I like I like Benzes, so I like like a SLS, McLaren, AMG, I like what was another interesting car I like? I like American muscle, so like I like Fords, I like Dodge.
You
Dodge
share
cars.
the one you currently drive?
Yeah, well, I drive a normal car. I drive a Honda. People of God, please, I drive a Honda for now. But pretty much, I like a Dodge Challenger. Yeah, I think a Dodge Challenger is a nice car. Yeah.
Okay. Let me pause and. What's your take on marriage? Are you married? What's the plan?
What's my plan?
Yeah.
What's my take on marriage?
Yeah.
I think marriage is an amazing institution. I think it's great. First of all, it helps you save money. So
how?
What I mean by helps you save money is like there's a cost to womanizing now.
Do you womanize?
No. I'm a Christian guy, and I told you earlier on. I don't do that.
Right.
But
No. I mean, like you're a fine man who is dark skin with your muscles, perky eyes, muscles. With your beards and all.
Yeah.
Who is the CEO of a Fortune 500 company?
Okay, I like it.
You're
telling me I have to womanize.
No, I'm not saying that. You are telling me that right now that you do not have women.
Good guy now.
Who are...
There will always be women now, bro.
Right, okay.
There will always be women now, but it's like I have the same conversation every single time.
Okay.
It's a slippery slope, right? Slippery slope in the sense that there will always be women, right? I don't know that the world will exist or a world will exist in which there will not be women that, you know, would like you, or that, you know, that want to hang out with you, or that want to chop your money or something. You know, and the motives are always different, right? And so, you know, for me, you know, you just have to pull yourself. It's just restraint. You have to just figure out when, okay, is this thing worth it? Should I do this? Should I chase this? Should I? And you have to answer all those questions. If not, man, you just be chasing. Because like, yo, there are women in Lagos, there are women in Abuja, there are women in Abia that look light skinned. There are women in nearby Ghana that
do you like light
look different.
Women?
Nah. I like smart women. You know, without sounding too deep. I don't know. I just like people that I can, you know, what's the word? Like if I can connect with you and vibe with you, and like we can relate, and like you have like good values. For me, that's more important. For me, I gravitate more towards all those things. You know, just based on like past, you know, history and stuff.
Is that one that stands out?
Like women.
Yeah, you said past history.
No. So what I mean by past history is not necessarily like, oh, I'm fixated on anything or I'm thinking of anything. No. What I mean by that is like, okay, like the kind of people that I have, you know, hung out with or gravitated towards, you know, in the times past, you know, and present, like past and present, you know, that's the.
So by present, you mean that you do have someone who...
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so you're not on the market for...
Nah, I'm off.
I'm sorry, guys. He's been taken. This black handsome man.
I'm sorry, guys, too, man. Sorry. We live to fight another day. Maybe another day. y'all live to fight another day. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, like, marriage is it's quite hectic.
Yeah.
Well, do you think it's something that okay, let me ask this question, right?
Yeah.
Someone who is married, has kids, do you think it's possible to balance the startup life
with that?
Yeah, like the startup struggle with the stress, the time, the funds. Do you think it's possible?
Yeah, it is. But like, you have to think of companionship, or like the way you think about business too. And what I mean is like, you need to get, you know, into a relationship or a marriage with somebody that, you know, pretty much understands what you do. For me, it's like a red flag. I can't even be with somebody that doesn't understand what I do, right? So I can't be having a conversation with you like, oh, these are the struggles I went through today, and like you can't relate on any level. We don't have to do the same thing, but like you have to be able to relate, you know, to some extent, right? And I think if these things are addressed or tackled from a point of understanding, it becomes easier, because like, you know, your wife to some extent can, you know, relate with like a lot of the things that are happening with you. So yeah, I think I have a lot of friends that are like in the space that are doing, you know, fairly well. It's a stressful life. It's a very exhausting and draining life. And you know, because the partner understands to some extent, you know, they are supportive to some extent, you know, then it becomes, you know, way easier to deal with it like as a human being. Yeah, so that's just, I think my perspective. I think like, yes, definitely you can. Okay. Definitely you can. I've seen people, there are people that have, so I don't think it's anything like, you know,
well,
it doesn't happen.
I mean, like,
you get married now. You can't be YouTubing and like whining the girls and turning your cap to the back for life. A sugar boy, you know, for life now. Eventually.
Oh my goodness.
You do that.
I mean, I will, but I look at it and there are people who have done it.
Yeah.
Right? Like the big ones. This guy was married when he started Amazon. Jeff was married. Elon, throughout the SpaceX journey, I mean, he got divorced, but he was married too. So if those niggas
can get married,
if those men,
pardon AY's French.
Thank you. We can curse on this channel actually.
Oh, you can? Okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, interesting. Cool.
Yeah, we are black people. We can curse, it's fine.
All right.
But that might not apply to you because you have an image to keep for your
I don't even curse now. I've told you now, I'm a Christian guy now. We don't do that now. We're wholly chaste down.
I know it's not good
to lie on TV.
Yes. Because people can see through it. Now you're scratching your beard, which might be an indication that
I'm lying. Yes. Oh, I actually curse, guys. I'm sorry.
There you go.
That was just a joke.
And you told the truth.
But maybe if you see me like in a more casual setting, like, nothing too camera like, like if I'm just chilling with my guys, in the house, perhaps you see me in my element. Yeah, say the least.
What do you drink when you go out? Like, what's your drink?
I'm more of a, I don't drink, I'm not a fan of beer. I'm more of like a whiskey guy, right? Though I've not been drinking for a minute, but like if I were to choose like a choice of drinks, I'll say I'm more of a whiskey guy. I like wine, but like that's like for like select times, and so I think like it's more, whiskey, wine, than beer last.
Whiskey, wine, beer last.
Yeah.
My own order is very different. I like my beer. I like my Gouda.
Yeah.
Just to unwind. You have some SDC playing in the background.
Nice.
And you're just like.
Cool. I like palm wine. I like palm wine too.
Palm is the best.
I love palm wine. I rank palm wine somewhere, without whiskey. I rank it. I love palm wine. Palm wine tea is also nice.
Yeah, it is. I like that vibe. Just that chill, cool vibe.
Yeah.
But when I'm you want to go clubbing, you want to like have fun, turn up, maybe vodka or
something strong.
I tried. I bought someone tequila.
Tequila, yeah.
Oh my! It
was heavy, right?
It's
hitting.
It was dope.
Tequila is good
I liked
too.
it.
Tequila is good too.
Have you tried it?
No, I don't know the brand you're talking about, but like tequila is great. Omeka?
I do not know.
Know.
I went to the store. I was looking through the shelf. I'm like, oh, tequila.
Yeah.
They're like, yes, tequila.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not like a drunk or anything.
Yeah, I know, that's what they say.
You need to unwind.
That's what they all say. P.S. That bottle, that cup he's been drinking out of. P.S. people, don't trust what is inside.
Water.
Oh.
Okay, that's a lie. I have vodka, chocolate vodka, for the conversation.
For the vibes.
I mean, it's a Friday. We are recording this on a Friday, by the way. So
yeah.
we got to turn up, get the body going.
I know, right?
So I think I've pretty much exhausted the sort of questions that I have in mind. But typically, before I end my shows, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying we have to end it right now, but there's this podcast I listen to. So I'm a big, huge fan of podcasts, which is why I love long-form conversations. Yeah. Where you just get to know people on a more deep and intimate
on a more personal level, right?
Yeah, as opposed to like TV interviews, which are like scripted. Some are scripted, some are just like the person trying to be their best behavior.
Yeah.
But podcasts, when somebody starts to talk for an hour and a half, to some level you get to see them make mistakes, see them reveal certain things and all of that. So I really love long-form podcasts. So one of the podcasts that I watch is Lex Friedman. He's an MIT researcher who focuses on AI, and he has like the best minds come on his show. Yeah. And typically what he does is, by the end of the show, he asks people, like scientists, astronomers, like people that they know everything. He asks them a question about what is life. What is life to you? And what is happiness? How do you find
is that a question?
That's
like you're throwing the question here.
Yes, I'm throwing the question.
Are you Lex Friedman?
I'm not Lex Friedman, but I love.
But you like the question.
I love the question so much because everybody always gives a different answer.
Yeah. So what's life?
What's life to you? And what
life
at what point do you think you'll be happy?
Yeah, like what's life and what's happiness
to you?
For me, like it's both intertwined, and why I say that is because for me, life is not existing. Life is, and what I mean by existing is, there are lots of people that exist, right? But they're not living, they're not experiencing anything positive, they're not experiencing, any beautiful moments, whether they're not creating those moments themselves or, whether situations are, But for me, life is freedom, right? Freedom to think and to chase goals aggressively. The freedom to be who you are and to be comfortable in your skin. The freedom to project, like a lot of positivity to the world and to get it back. One of those things is like to love and be loved, chasing your dreams, and reaping the benefits that come with that. So ultimately, life for me, if I had to say one word for me that is very synonymous with that word life, is freedom. Like freedom to love, freedom to chase your goals, freedom to achieve your goals, freedom to live. Right, so life sometimes doesn't necessarily, like, you can exist in this world, and like you can live in this world. So for me, that's how I define it. Happiness is not a destination, right? Because you never really get to that point where you say, this is the most like can be. So you have like all these euphoric moments or all these exciting moments where it's like, yes, and then it plateaus back a bit. And for me, happiness is being content, right? And contentment is me realizing that, wherever you find yourself in life, there are always people ahead and there are always people behind, and it's a process, rather than a destination. So, just cherishing all the tiny wins that you have. People don't celebrate their wins enough. I have conversations with people that say, oh, you know what? I just got like my master's degree, but like I'm very not happy because, my friend just, had, her first child. But the thing is, like, life is in progression, and like a master's degree in itself is a great thing, right? A child in itself is a great thing. You having a contract, no matter how small it is, you make small chops, for example, you get, contract to supply a business, is a great thing in itself. And for me, happiness is you recognizing all those your tiny moments and all those your tiny wins, and just stopping to really just appreciate where you are, right? And just enjoying that journey rather than thinking of it as, an eventual bus stop. Like, there's this place that you would get to. And when I get there, I will be happy, right? Because, there's no amount of money is insatiable, for example. There's no amount of money you would have in this life. Even Jeff Bezos, for example, now they say, oh, Jeff Bezos is, I think it's over 100, I think it's inching closer towards 200 billion, right? Yeah. And then there's still $1 trillion, there's still 10 trillion, there's still, so all these things that, they're like, is, almost infinite. You just keep chasing and chasing and chasing, And so you just have to realize that, oh, I made $1 million, I did better than last year. And just really appreciate yourself for that. I made 10 million, I did better than last year. And pretty much, just appreciate yourself for that, rather than beat yourself up. So like, I think for me, happiness is just appreciating, every moment that you live, and, all the, tiny wins that you have. It's easy to be fixated on like the bad stuff and the negative stuff, but like, there are always good things, like in the midst of like all the chaos that happens with life. And just when you appreciate all of that, you are inching closer towards what people define as happiness. Happiness is not in a human being, also. So, happiness is not in a human being.
One moment that you
I think sometimes happiness is even given, right? And so if you talk to a lot of billionaires, or if you read or listen to like a lot of, like, one of my favorite billionaires, God rest his soul, is a guy called Sheldon Adelson, where he owns Las Vegas Sands, which is like, one of the probably the biggest casino type business. One of the biggest casino type businesses in the world. I think just before he passed, it was worth, probably somewhere around $30 billion. And he says, okay, you know what? One of the biggest perks of like having money is just, the fact that you can give back. I think that's the most gratifying thing, about money in itself. When you give people things, I don't believe people become happy by amassing wealth. I think true happiness comes from giving. And giving is not just money. So, so it's not in a person, or collecting from a person. It could also be given to a person. So it's multidimensional. It's not just a 1D thing.
So it's not just your own happiness.
No.
Which is a perfect segue, because that's what this channel is dedicated to. It's just helping individuals maximize their own happiness whilst maximizing your own happiness as well. Then there's one thing that you sort of alluded to while you had your long monologue.
Yeah.
You always say that life na race. Everybody they run it.
Yeah.
One of those times was when we started Drop Buddies, and we had a competitor who shall not be named. Yellow.
Yeah.
Max NG.
Yeah.
And we started the company together, and we're both, they would check our websites, we check theirs, and you're like, we would try to do what we can do, and life is not a race. And that really stuck with me, because at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
And you people don't have equal resources, you don't have equal strength, you don't have equal talent.
For sure, right.
So many things vary. So now and then, compare yourself to a particular person or to a particular business or a particular strata. Just puts unnecessary strain on yourself.
Pressure.
Unnecessary pressure. So might as well just be happy, have a bottle of wine, and live a happy life.
For sure.
That's the spirit.
For sure.
So I think that pretty much sums it up for me. And is there anything that you'd like to
add or to say?
Yeah.
You guys, you watching it, you need to subscribe,
Oh,
subscribe.
That was a plan, by the way.
You need to subscribe to Ayo's channel, lots of dope content, his head is in the right place. So, I think he'll just keep, reinventing and giving you guys like the best in terms of like the people that come on the show, or the kind of questions that he's throwing at people, or just generally like, how to build you people now. How to build you people. So, I think like click the subscribe button. Smash it. Destroy it.
Yeah, exactly.
Finish it. Scatter it. Right. And I think it has like lots of amazing content.
Appreciate it.
And so like you guys should, pretty much like and subscribe. Guys, and click the bell icon.
Thank you.
I don't know, I always hear that on videos, but I don't know.
There's a notification icon where when you click on it, YouTube reminds you when somebody
when there's a new video, right? So guys, click the bell icon just so you get reminders when he's dropping some jewels on his channel. All right. Yeah.
I don't think I need to do any outro.
There's no need for an outro.
You pretty much summed it up.
I've outroed for you, and I've outroed for myself. So. Bye guys.
We'll probably bring him on, one more time.
No wahala. I'm always happy to.
You love the content.
I'm always happy. Yeah. So.
Appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for bringing me onto your channel, and thank you for what you're doing for, the community as a whole. Really great stuff.
Okay, stop.
And we're happy to be here.
Stop. Don't smother.
All right, bye guys.
Phrases. Thanks. All right. Appreciate it.
Hey,
Appreciate it.
No wahala, bro.